which you tried to talk yourself out of reviewing because you said it's not the kind of thing we usually do. So I'm actually quite intrigued to figure out what this is. So go ahead, Winter Walks.
Yeah, Winter Walks is something that you can only find on either iPlayer or BBC Four, which is, I think, a digital channel now on BBC Two.
Yep.
Winter Walks is what is called slow TV. And so, the into Winter Walks are half-an-hour episodes, and normally it's a famous person, though sometimes I don't always know who they are. But it's a famous person. They basically go for a walk, and they have a 360 camera with them, and they walk on their own. And then they have a drone that follows them as well. And so they plot a route around like a well-known beauty spot. So this last series has all been around Yorkshire. So you get the Yorkshire coast, you get the Dales, you get the moors, you get different parts of Yorkshire. Basically, they sort of start saying, hello, we're just going to go on a walk. And that you see on the map a route. And it's no music, there's no accompaniment. It's just bird song and the sounds that you would hear on a walk. And as they go by, they talk about what the weather conditions are. This thing has come up on the screen, like, the weather's like 90% rain, or this sort of like the elevation, how far above sea level they are, what the temperature is outside. And they're basically just walking along, talking to the camera, sharing their thoughts, letting their thoughts drift and wander as they walk along, admiring the scenery. Sometimes they pause and they'll recite a poem. They'll just sit and say, okay, this is a poem that really sits, fits this area, or just fits my mood at the moment. And so they sit and they sort of read a poem, and then you just sit and with them, and you listen to the bird song. You let this sort of the words wash over you, and then they just walk around this route. And most of the walks tend to be about 7 or 8 miles long, or well, some of them, the shortest about 4, and the longest I've seen is 15. But most of the average ones like 5, 6, 7 miles long. And so it's quite a varied landscape. And you basically just get immersed in this slow, you can slow everything down. The pace of life slows down to just like how fast you can walk. And some of the people, when they're walking, Baroness Varsite was saying on her walk, she's so used to walking in cities that she has to go from one place to another, that she power walks everywhere. And she's like, I have to consciously make myself slow down. And I think this sort of program, where we have sort of quite busy lives, where it's sort of slow TV, it consciously has to make you slow down just to sort of be in that moment with them when they're walking along. Alistair Campbell was very good. He was talking about how his struggles with mental health and how he has found like refuge in nature. Having been in the world of politics for so long, and having been, again, this sort of constant activity, spending like a day just going for a walk. And they film it where they stop, and sometimes when they're walking along they meet people, and then the names of the people will come up on the screen, and they'll have a chat, and they'll also say this is the owner of this farm, and they're their 5th generation farm, and they've lived on this, the family have lived in this generation for hundreds of years. And it's a different way of basically spending half an hour of just letting the world slow down to the pace of a gentle walk through the countryside. And it's just the most sort of therapeutic, calming thing you could possibly watch on the television.
Well, I'm just going to say they do a similar thing on the radio. They do like on like, I listen to Radio 4 now. I guess I'm of an age, but they quite often do. They quite often have like a generally like about when there's 15 minutes, like it's just a little walk, and they say, "Oh, we're going through this style, and we're going to." And yeah, I can understand what Sharon's saying when she says it can be quite therapeutic,
There's actually one that I remember trying to find a podcast once, and I ended up finding this podcast of Claire Balding going for a walk on the Isle of Wight on Tennyson Down.
Wow.
Yeah. And it sounds like it was the precursor to this, only like on the radio where it was cheaper to make. Yes. So and didn't have all the. Yeah.
They do summer walks as well, but obviously in the summer, but in the winter time, they do have these winter walks. So often it's rainy, it's blowing a gale, and they're just trumping along. But there's something about, I think, it's the closest thing to television as you could get to going for a walk. Going for a walk yourself. On the island, we've got beaches, we've got downs, we've got cliffs, we've got, there's woodlands, we've got all sorts of walks that you can go on. And so part of you's thinking like, I'm going to put my boots on, I'm going to go for a walk. And it's just that, guess that you get that feeling of just like slowing the world down for half an hour to just, listen to bird song.
Yep.
It's
It's
found a way, so it's a seaside one.
oh right, okay, so cool. So obviously you enjoyed this. This sounds like it's
Yeah,
like right up your alley. And then I think BBC4, they're the kind of people who I think they only ever want to try and make quality stuff. I think that's the thing. I think the idea is with BBC4, you should never watch anything on BBC4 and go, "Oh, that was a bit rubbish, wasn't it?"
Yeah, you'd never see like the foxy girls of the West Coast or anything like that.
The Real Housewives of the Yorkshire Dales.
Yeah.
They okay now there's a crossover.
Yeah, that's something that might come out.
There's a crossover. The Real Housewife of the Yorkshire Dales go for a walk. Oh my god, you know it's gonna happen. They're gonna have somebody for one of those. You're talking about all these celebrities you don't recognize. One of them is gonna be somebody for one of those shows very soon. Oh, but anyway, how many stars would you give this?
Well, it's hard to judge because to me it's almost like the perfect half an hour of television. So I would give it a 5.
Cool.
To me, it's like half an hour perfection.
All right.
And poetry. I love a bit of poetry, so it's like perfect.
So okay. Is there any celebrity you did not know well before this that you're now like, oh, I'm gonna go check out some more of what they've done?
There was one guy. I think his name is Nihil, and he's a DJ. And
Nihal Athanaike.
That's the guy.
He's on Radio 5. He's on Radio 5 Live. Yeah.
About him, but he had a really good walk. And I thought, oh yeah, it would be interesting to hear a bit more what he had to say because it's quite thoughtful.
All right, cool, good stuff. All right, good. So.